call this meeting to order. It's the Civil Service Commission, Wednesday, September 13th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
All right. Jennifer Goodman, Director of Human Resources. We're excited to be back with a quorum today, and so I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce our new commissioners. First, Mr. Ruben Lee, and then also Mr. Rosario Arupalan. Hopefully I said that correctly.
Yes.
Did I get your name correct?
It's pronounced Lee, L-E-E.
Thank you.
Lee.
Thank you for the assistance. All right, and I will ask for roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Lee.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Arulapan. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Present.
And Commissioner Lofstrom.
Present.
Thank you. I think we missed the opportunity to allow our new commissioners to tell us a little something about themselves.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Arulapan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm Rosario Arulapan, resident of Tracy. I'm basically a IT engineer, computer field. I've been working for the last 28 years as a technology architecture, as a development engineer. And working for people is my, I'm like a fashion. And I've been doing this last 10 years as a part of like board of director in Fremont for 10 years as a homeowner association. Now currently I'm on a board of director, one of the board of director in Hellis community. It's my passion working for the people, whatever the time, the extra time I put effort for the community, to grow for the community. And I love to have this opportunity. I really thank to the staff and our supervisors and Chief Supervisor Robert Rickman to bringing me here. And it's a great opportunity to work with the people, to know a lot of people and how the community grows, to interact with everyone. I really appreciate for that. Thank you.
As stated, my name is Ruben Lee. I am a husband of over 20 years, a father of 3 grown children, and currently I am a project manager for Pierce Services in the microwave services department. We do point-to-point communications from cell towers for AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. So if you want a long conversation with me, talk about that. Other than that, I'm excited to be here. A little something that most people don't know about me. I was born and grew up as a Mennonite, so we grew up with hard work. So I'm probably the youngest person in this county that can say that I went to a one-room school. So just excited to give my service to the county. Thank you.
Thank you both. We really appreciate your clearly stated commitment, and we have been, I've been on the board about 3 years now, and I think you're going to find that it's a worthwhile endeavor for both of you.
Yes, and I do want to thank the two of you for volunteering to service. You don't do this job for any money. And the one thing I wanted to say is, I think it would be good for our department to have it printed out who the new commissioners are, because at least they get some recognition that this is a job. It's a very demanding job. You'll just find out you do a lot of reading. But I think they should be thanked and they should be recognized. So I would ask that somehow we put some notice perhaps in the Stockton Record or something, the new commissioners.
Okay, so that brings us to the approval of the minutes. Mr. Lee and Mr. Arulapan, did you get a copy of the minutes? Did you have a chance to review them? Yeah.
Yes.
Great, okay. So when we're ready, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Actually, there was only 2 of us at that meeting.
Oh, there was, of course there was.
So can we still approve the minutes with just only 2 of us that were
I have
there?
another board where we can.
Yes,
It's
yes,
all
you
right,
can.
yes.
So it's
Yeah.
considered
Okay.
kind of a basic record keeping.
Okay.
Very good. I'll move that we approve the minutes as presented.
And I will second, and those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and no opposed. Thank you for that. And then we move on to the report of disciplinary action. Before we decide to accept that, do you have anything you want to report on that?
For the record, I will just read the current reports of disciplinary actions. We have an order of dismissal from the Sheriff's Communications Unit with no appeal. We have an order of reduction in salary for the shelter supervisor at Mary Graham Children's Shelter, no appeal. And one order of dismissal from the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office for a senior collections clerk that has been appealed to arbitration.
Okay, thank you. And now this will be a full commission board vote. Full commission vote. I will accept a motion to accept the report of disciplinary action.
A motion to accept?
Thank you. And do I hear a second?
Yeah, I can second that.
Okay, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No oppose, and we have accepted the report. That's passed. And now we'll move to Ms. Brimmer, I believe.
So Ms. Brimmer will present our first classification study of today. It's classification project 23-014 for the Auditor Controller's Office.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Chair Lofstrom, Amy Brimmer, Human Resources. The first item is to establish a new classification, excuse me, titled Enterprise Resource Planning Analyst. San Joaquin County is embarking on a large-scale ongoing project to select, implement, maintain an enterprise resource system to support finance, accounting, payroll, human resources, the whole gamut, all of those needs. And the project is being led by the Auditor Controller's Office. Enterprise Resource Planning Analyst is presented for your approval today to serve as a conduit between the technical staff and end users on the business lines to optimize system functionality and the business processes. This class will report to an enterprise resource planning manager or other county leadership as designated and serve an ongoing need in support of the county's enterprise resource system. The nature of work associated with enterprise resource planning analyst lends to exclusion from labor representation and will have a confidential designation. We do have Auditor Controller Jeffrey Woolcamp available online remotely, should you have any questions of the department.
I have a clarification from you. There's something I just didn't catch it when you said it. It was your second to the last line about confidentiality, something about that. Could you go over that with me again?
Sure. So typically, we'll let you know that we've notified whatever respective labor organization this classification will most likely be associated with. In this regard, it will be classified in the civil service, hence we're bringing forth the class specification for your review today. However, it will not be included with a labor organization or represented by one.
Okay, so
Due to the nature of the work, yeah.
exempt, or maybe you don't use that word.
Confidential, having access and actually a potential effect on the labor or negotiation process with the labor organizations.
Okay, that helped clear it up for me. Thank you, that last bit. Yeah. So this is basically a software program that's going to be installed, yes?
Correct.
So I didn't get that the first time. Remember, I talked to you, I said that when you brought the manager, the enterprise resource manager, and I didn't understand the language, but this time around, I got it. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah, this one's a little bit different, however, in the fact that this will merge it's that the conduit or the liaison between, so they have the business line knowledge and the operational functionality, understanding and needs of that, and then bridging that with the technical aspect of it and the IT component, and kind of help merge those together with their respective areas of functional expertise.
Very
And that's what the analyst will do.
specialized, and very special person. Does anyone else want to ask any questions on this?
Just exactly what does an enterprise resource planner do?
Yeah, the enterprise resource system analyst is exclusively dedicated to supporting the entire life cycle and then maintenance of the project to implement that information systems platform. And I don't believe we've selected that platform as of yet, but it is an all-encompassing, affects all county departments and functionality within the county departments of all those areas that I mentioned, finance, accounting.
So it's
Then-
for the full, it's for the whole county,
Correct,
not just for one department or,
exactly.
okay, thank you.
I had to look it up. The phrase still confused me, but it's there and it's very legitimate and you'll find a lot of
Yes,
information.
it's fairly new concept too in public sector, so I think we're kind of on the cutting edge of that. And really what it will help us do ultimately, once we get through implementation and stuff, is to ensure that we're leveraging the system that we're selecting and maximizing the potential for it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions or?
Yeah. I'm just new, so trying to understand, so bear with me. So this is the enterprise application you mentioned for throughout the county. This San Joaquin County, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
The purpose of just for the, we can able to get a quarterly report or something if we need to go over, something like that, the provision is there?
A quarterly report for it. I'm not sure if that's even been determined. Part of the role of these folks will be to engage in what type of updating and reporting there is. And I don't know, Jennifer, if you have some executive level comment on that.
So the county is endeavoring to replace our enterprise resource system, which currently we utilize PeopleSoft for our financials, our budgeting, and our HRIS system. And so the process to replace that is a multi-year process. So this person, along with the enterprise resource manager that Amy mentioned, are going to staff the key stakeholders, which is the auditor controller's office, our chief information officer, our director of purchasing, and myself as the HR director, our county administrator, in going through the multiple stages of the process of replacing the system, determining requirements, going through the RFP processes, and then the implementation process as well. And then Amy mentioned that this person will also help staff the ongoing maintenance and interactions, so that as departments have needs from these systems, they'll be working with this staff to make sure that we're leveraging the system well.
Okay, thanks. Good to know that.
No problem.
Okay, if no further questions?
Not sure if it's pertinent to it, but this position, it would just be one person that's gonna be doing, I'm familiar with ERP, we're currently going through it, I'm just wondering if only one person's gonna be carrying the weight of that?
Sure, that's a good question, and welcome, because in some classifications, we do indicate whether or not we intend for it to be a single incumbent class, meaning there's only one position. At this moment in time, we haven't written it as such. I don't know if Mr. Woltkamp wants to comment in that regard or not, but it's not written as such that we would only have one. There is an enterprise resource planning manager in development as well. That could potentially be a single incumbent.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay, Amy's correct, that the manager is intended to be one position. I would imagine that the analyst could be multiple.
Manager's one.
the analyst will likely be an expert in a particular area of functionality. Yep. And so you may have a few of them, one with the finance-driven platform, one maybe with the HRIS piece of that, and
Okay.
or more so.
That answers my next question, because I was wondering if it's more of a focus on the financial side or the IT side. What would their main focus be
Of this,
of an ERP?
an ERP analyst or manager, the focus would be merging the two, of having the business expertise and the IT side, but it is to implement an IT software.
Understood.
I didn't get that. Could you try?
That lady talks to me all day long.
Right timing.
Okay, if there are no further questions, then I will entertain a motion to accept classification project CP 23-14 for Enterprise Resource Planning Analyst.
I move that we adopt the classification as presented.
I second.
All right, this motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed, so it has passed.
And Ms. Brimmer will present our next study, which is classification project 23-004.
So this is also presenting a new classification to the county classification plan for you. And it is for a deputy building official. The Building Inspection Division of our Community Development Department ensures adherence to building code, conducts inspections for new and existing construction. The Deputy Director Building Inspection oversees the division and also serves as San Joaquin County's Chief Building Official. The Building Inspection Division has 17 employees, and while the Deputy Director has support from the first line supervisors, there's no higher level to absorb the frequent technically demanding issues that require management involvement. A new deputy building official position can take over day-to-day operations and the most complex customer service issues and relieve the deputy director to provide senior management duties in support of the assistant and department directors. So we did share this classification with the San Joaquin County Management Association in advance of this meeting. And that labor organization responded with no objections to the draft class specification. And we have the benefit today of having Jennifer Jolly, Community Development Director here, along with our Chief Building Official and Deputy Director of Building Inspection, Jeff Niemeyer, should you have questions of the department.
Okay, great, thank you. I do have a question. It's certainly a mouthful to try and keep these straight. The Deputy Director Building Inspection is hierarchically on par with the Deputy Director? That's not a statement, that's a question. Or do they report to the Deputy Director?
The Deputy Director Building Inspection reports to the Assistant Director of Community Development.
Okay, so the Deputy Director and the Deputy Director Building Inspection are equal, and they both report?
So we're creating a deputy building official.
Yes? Yes, I told you it's hard. I mean, I've actually studied a lot, and I've written out little notes for myself. So, yes, so the Deputy Director Building Official, and then there's the Deputy Director Building Inspector.
The deputy word is really throwing us. It's just deputy building official.
Yeah,
And there's only the one deputy director building inspection
okay.
who serves as the chief building official. So if you get rid of Mr. Niemeyer's deputy title, he's the chief building official. We're inserting a deputy building official.
Okay, so why didn't you just like call it a division chief or a manager or something to make it more clear, not just to me, but to the public?
I think it's in conformity with, like, we have one district attorney, and then we have many deputy district attorneys. How many? There, everyone else that works for the district attorney, and the district attorney has a deputy for his office. I've got a different name, I think, but all of the lawyers that are in the district attorney's office are all deputy district attorneys.
And they're all hierarchically the
They're all
same?
the same level, yeah.
Okay. So let me ask, you already answered, but I really spent a lot of time on this. I'm not sure it sounds like I did, but I did. so these two positions, you are the deputy director,
Chief building official.
okay.
Yeah.
And so this person is going to report to you or be equal with you?
Report to me.
Okay, so we have another one, the retirement managers that we're gonna be looking at. And they too are creating a person to oversee a division, and they're calling this person a manager. So that's easy to understand.
This
This-
person would be like a manager.
So why don't you just call it a manager? Why
I,
don't you-
you know what, I think we ended up doing, so we have like that more traditional nomenclature we use, I don't know the best
Sorry,
word,
now I'm.
that we use toward the government, where we talk about directors, assistant directors, deputy directors, and then we're merging in an industry kind of standard reference, which is deputy building official. His being exempt from civil service, exempt from, representation, we would probably more likely change his title, the deputy director building inspection, or we would just use the working title of chief building official, so that it just makes most sense within their industry. I think the problematic piece is that I'm merging in the two. So the deputy director nomenclature and then deputy building official, the deputy piece means different things based on what follows that.
Yeah, well, that helped a lot. So this is industry standard language that's not going to confuse the professionals that are working with you?
No.
Okay,
At some point in time, it would be good to change my title to chief building official, to keep in line with the industry standards.
I would love that.
Me too.
Cut the deputy.
Okay, that was my only question. If anyone else?
I've always had a problem, and with other job descriptions that we have, where we have a duty to interpret laws, that the person can interpret laws. I really have a problem with that, because the only ones that interpret laws are the courts. We can explain the law, we can apply the administration does that. They apply the law. The legislature passes the law. The administration or executive branch, they apply the law, they try to determine what they think is right or wrong. And there's always disagreements when there's laws. And when those disagreements arise, who settles them? The judge in a court settles them. The judge interprets the laws. And I have a problem. If you look at page, is it the first page, the one with the definition? Yeah, it's not numbered, the page, is it? No. Of this, yeah, it's the first page of the building, deputy building official. And if you look at number 3, typical duties, and it says there, assist the deputy director, blah, blah, day-to-day, so forth, may review plans for conformity to specifications, zoning laws, ordinances, zoning laws, ordinances, codes, and state laws. Now, okay, may review them. So it's reviewing them in order to apply them. Now, if you look at page 3, and you're looking at ability to, this is what we want the person to have an ability to. And in there, going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, there's interpret and apply laws. Now, interpret shouldn't be there.
Well, wait, hold on just a minute. So you do recall when you brought this up with Mr. Ornelas
I
present?
know, I did.
And
And I still wasn't convinced, but I knew that that time we just had 3 on the board, and if I was worried that if I didn't agree and it needed to be passed, that it might not pass with only 2 votes, but I wasn't sure about that. But at this point, I really feel that's a misuse of that term. And it's throughout our descriptions, and it's wrong.
if Mr. Ornelas had agreed with you, I'd go along. I mean, in my
I
job.
wished he was here.
I know, but you know, you're talking,
Yeah.
if I can recall what he was saying, it's a formality versus like practically doing the work. And certainly as a regulator, I interpreted regulations and laws all the time. Now, I turn to the
Who do you
the
interpret, who did you
decisions,
interpret them to?
myself and my staff,
Well, it's yourself's okay, you can try to do that.
but my staff.
All
And
right.
so, but I don't want to sit here and argue with you. I mean, we're very clear on what both of
Yeah,
we're
but
doing
you
this.
know what he did? He finally said, oh, he says, well, you know, what, if they interpret it, you know, it doesn't really matter because you know, a court could do it differently or could interpret
The
it
court
differently,
is the
laws.
formal, I do think I mean, I think you're gonna keep bringing this up, and so I do think it's a good idea if anybody can ever think of another word besides interpret, but we
And
never
most of the time, you
have.
don't even need that word in there. I
It-
mean, you can say
You really
explain.
do. I mean, I can picture a job interview where you give them a set of regulations or laws, and you say, explain this to me, what this means,
Explain
interpret
it?
this.
Yes.
But explain doesn't work in the job duty. Now, sir, would you please take over?
So state law, codes are from state laws. The California building codes they're developed from state laws.
Right.
The chief building official's main obligation is to interpret those codes, those building codes. So that is used with the codes.
Their job is to apply it,
But you have to
apply the law.
interpret them to apply them correctly.
They can say, this is what I think it means. This is what I think we should do, because this is the law's written this way, and so we should do these things this way. But if you put it down and say is interpreting it, it's not interpreting it. You're understanding it, you're studying it, you're resourcing it, you're planning it, you're advising about it, and you're applying the law. The most thing they do is apply the law. Now, if they apply the law and someone says, this is not right, what you wanted me to do is not right, they say it's unconstitutional or it's against this or that, where do they go? That's where you then go to find out who decides that. In the end, it's the court.
Well, on building codes, the chief building official does have that power to make that decision and interpret that code the way that he or she wants to interpret it. That do have that power, that's right out of the building codes.
Yeah, and then if there's an issue, then, you know, can go to court, and then that's like the official one.
Board
But
of
that- They do this on a
Appeals,
day-to-day
yes.
basis.
Due
I-
process,
I
yes.
think what we're going to need to do is note your concern about this, and then let's move on to your other concerns, and the other two commissioners are hearing you clearly as well.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
My one simple question is like, are we discussing about the position or we are discussing about the building code?
Okay, so it's gonna take me a while to get used to your accent, so I'm gonna just, I mean, I could either pretend to understand you and just nod, or I could say, I didn't quite get to that, would you do it again? So I'm gonna do
No.
that.
Because the item what we are discussing right now is
Yeah.
regarding to the deputy building official position, but
Yes.
not about the building code, how they construct or something. That's my understanding.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and it's about that one phrase in their abilities. Thank you for that, yeah.
Yeah, we need to, these are two different things. We need to separate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Lee?
I too read this, and at the risk of being the newbie and getting bad names, I have a question. I researched building director, director, building inspector. I was mixed about those two, those really. And when you talk about ERP, you might have a problem with that moving forward because it really is about flow, and that's, but anyway, the deputy director building inspector, when I looked it up, it seemed that their duties were similar, and if not in some ways the same, as your building official. So my question is, rather than having, creating a new position, why are we not just looking at replacing a deputy and keeping a chief? Or Or am I not seeing that correctly?
And you're correct, the duties are very similar when it comes to the either technical level or those that are related directly to the conduct of the work itself. However, what we're doing is inserting a different level, or hopefully it's clear, that we're inserting a different level of administrative oversight, a different level of involvement with reporting staff. And so similar to, like, for example, law enforcement ranks, if you have a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, the intent here is that they're all related to law enforcement, they just have a different level within their structure of authority. And that was the intent here. And so the intent for inserting this new level at a mid-manager as opposed to a senior manager, and you don't have the benefit of, and I know having walked in and done this work for a while, coming in to understand how our structure works, this is going to pull out some of the duties, it will, on the day-to-day level and readjust them to a new level in mid-management from the senior manager, which is the deputy director, chief building official.
Okay.
So that really helps. That's some good insight because I may not have done the best job in explaining the difference between the two.
So this position will give a lesser access than both of these positions slated in the,
The scope of the access is a little bit more narrow and lower in authority.
okay.
You did a fine job. Saying mid-manager helped, though, I think. So that was
Our director or deputy director.
We're just sitting back here. I just want to make sure that it's clear that the building official and the deputy director of building inspection services is the same person. So it's not two positions. You have one position. The building official, the county is required to have a building official.
Correct.
The building official does not have to be the deputy director of building inspections. Other jurisdictions, I believe, have building officials that can be
That's correct.
designated with a different background. It makes most sense to have the expert in building inspection services to be the building official, and that's why this county has decided to do that. But it's the same person. They just have to hold the title of building official. I just wanted to make sure you understood that it was one level of senior management, and this position would be our only middle management position, and then there's everyone else underneath that. So we don't currently have a middle management position. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe we have a middle management position in building, which we do in our other divisions, code enforcement and planning, and so we're trying to set up a very similar model for the building division.
So it's completely a new position getting created.
It's a new position, yes.
Yes, correct.
And can I just add something? Since our organizational chart, the way it's been structured predates 1997, and at that time, the building code was just one book. The Uniform Building Code. It was about an inch thick. Today, it's 13 volumes, and it's 4 or 5 feet long. It's a lot of codes and laws to interpret. Sorry.
Is that in word in that booklet, interpret, is it in there?
It's in the building code?
In the code, yes.
Yes, it
I'd like to
authorizes the
see it.
building official
Yeah,
to
okay.
interpret the code.
I think that might be, that would change my mind about some things, because if the legislature has given someone a job to interpret, and it's codified, it's in the code, then I could accept that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't accept it if it was not in the code to tell them that they are to interpret.
So I can clarify, it gives the authority to the building official to make a decision on a building code and the building official to interpret that code.
You don't have to use that word. You could just, they
To
apply it.
understand, to explain that code,
Well, they can explain it, they can study it, they can research
or
it.
make a decision.
I really think, I appreciate it, but
I'm sorry.
If I saw it on the code, I'd like to see it
anyway,
codified.
the point you were making,
The point is, right now, we don't have that middle management to help understand the codes.
Sure.
It's so large today. This is California. We have a lot of regulations, and there's more and more each year. And we need help running our building department, and that's why we need this middle management position.
Well, I'm not arguing about having the middle management position. I'm just saying the description and using the word interpret is incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah, and every lawyer should understand that, and but it's a misuse of the word interpret. You can say apply, explain,
Really, you have made your position clear. and
I know,
I
but-
I know, but
but
I'd like to
and
move
it's-
on from this. At this point, it feels like beating a dead horse to me. I know you don't want to admit it's a dead horse, but, you know, it will come up again, I promise you.
Yeah, I know it. It's throughout.
yeah,
It's throughout. I mean,
yeah.
it interprets in
Well,
there.
that's
and
'cause that's
it's-
what they do.
It's
But
misuse.
yeah, we shouldn't argue. For me, the only confusing part, I mean, it was the hierarchy and the titles. But once I understand, I mean, I read through the description, I think it's pretty evident that you need this person. So you've got your manager, your mid-manager, and then your seniors and everyone. So that was my only confusion. And I think everyone, you're all nodding at me. So at this point, I'm ready to entertain a motion to accept classification project CP 23-004 for, I said the wrong one, that was the project, classification specification for deputy building official RC 0104.
I can second that.
Think I got a motion?
I second.
Second, and all those in favor say aye.
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 I'm
Those
opposed.
opposed
I'm
say,
opposed for the use of the word interpret in there. I think it's wrong.
so you want to vote? You didn't quite vote?
Yes, no.
Say
I
no.
vote no.
Okay, so the motion passes 3-1. Thank you all. And now we are moving on to, is it Molly? Yep. Molly Bunzelot for the next classification in Public Works.
Sorry, probably helps if I turned on the mic first. My name is Molly Boonslot from Human Resources, here to present the class specifications amendment to the Fleets Parts Specialist position. In an effort to increase the candidate pools to improve recruitment efforts, the Public Works Department submitted a classification study request in September 2022, asking Human Resource to evaluate the succession between the Fleets Parts trainee and the Fleets Parts Specialist classification. Upon review of the two classifications, Human Resource agreed to create an internal pattern allowing for those with 1 year of experience in the Fleets Parts trainee to promote into the Fleet Parts Specialist classification. Adding this internal pattern to the Fleets Parts Specialist clearly defines the succession between the two classifications as incumbents gain heavy equipment experience. The draft class specifications for the Fleet Parts Specialist was shared with SEIU on July 18th, and the union responded with no issues with the draft class specifications. On the line with you, if you have any questions, are Public Works Administrator Christy Rea and Fleet Manager Kevin Mayus.
Thank you. And I do have a question, and I suspect the answer is going to be similar to the last one. It's the word fleet under class characteristics where what page is this? The page 1, where it talks about used in maintaining a wide variety of fleet and related equipment. I'm just not used to the word fleet without something following it, like fleet vehicles, fleet of something. And so probably in your world, you talk about fleet all the time, but that was my only confusion. So if you want to direct answer that.
Hi, this is Christy Ray. I'm with the Public Works Department. Yes, fleet, like fleet services, fleet is used to encompass all of the vehicles and equipment within fleet. So equipment can be fleet, large construction machinery can be part of our fleet team. So I'm sorry, there's a very strong echo, so I'm hearing myself.
Oh, that's unnerving, but we do not hear it here.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But you know what, you answered my question, and I suspected as much. Although I just learned if you keep saying fleet over and over again, it starts totally losing its meaning. But yeah, that was it. Does anyone else have any questions that they want to ask?
Under class characteristics, what the description there, the last sentence, incumbents are also responsible for the inventory control of all parts and records, quality control. What does that mean? Responsible for the inventory control of all parts and records, quality control?
So I know I have our fleets manager, Kevin, on the line, so he can probably give you a more, I can give an answer to that, but Kevin, do you want to provide that clarity?
Sure.
So
well,
what does the inventory control of parts and records?
Of all parts and records,
well, we use our fleet
quality.
management system to, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Kevin.
Oh, okay. Well, we have our fleet management system, and the parts specialists interact with that. That's where all our inventories are kept in there. We maintain a fuel inventory in there, all the parts, tires, you know, our lubricants are in there. It's all on the cloud. You know, it's pretty modern. For the most part, it's pretty easy to use. Most the guys can come in and they use it for a couple of days and get used to it pretty quickly. Right now we're keeping track of about 800,000 in parts, about 200,000 in fuel right now in the tank. So a lot of stuff is taken care of. Now, of course, then there's the types of parts we stock for heavy equipment, for automotive. We also build our own patrol cars for the sheriff, so we have a lot of inventory of law enforcement type equipment, you know, light bars, cages, restraint seats, that type of thing.
Could you concentrate on just that records quality control? Is there?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So as far as so everything's like it's a cloud-based system. Everything is maintained within the system. So all of our purchase agreements are loaded into the system. It tracks the money in our account. So we have a parts account, shop supplies account, safety account, and as we buy certain things, it pulls the transactions out of the account lines and out of the contract lines that we have with the vendors. And of course, that all ties back into the inventory. So, you know, we're buying a certain part from a certain place. We can keep track of that. Obviously, all the quantities that we purchase and then issue out to pieces of equipment are tracked. You know, and that's all pretty much real time. So we make an order, we put it in the machine.
That's all.
You know, and then, like I said,
You've explained that very well. But I just wanted to know: is there a record of quality control?
If I can interject, what my understanding of this is that the fleet part specialist, obviously they are responsible for the inventory, they're responsible for maintaining inventory, and they're responsible for maintaining the records of that inventory and ensuring that the quality of those records are appropriate. If we ordered 10 things, we used 10 things, and we have a record of that use, where they went, what vehicle it went to. So I know Kevin's kind of giving you more of a.
No, I think you've explained it. You've explained it well. So there's.
I think that's answering what you want there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
You bet.
Anything else from anyone?
No, I'm good.
For the fleet specialist trainee, I understand that that's going to be your transition, right?
Correct,
Any
correct.
other-
So currently, the fleet parts trainee is individuals who are coming from outside agencies who have experience potential. Most from our records in recruitment have been individuals who've worked at AutoZone, O'Reilly's, so they have the experience in working in ordering automotive parts and specifying which ones go to which vehicle. So for a year in our training, they actually gain experience in heavy equipment, where when we try to recruit at the specialist level, they lack that experience in heavy equipment. And so a year as a trainee, they gain that experience internally. So instead of having to open up positions to the general, someone within the trainee can automatically promote into the specialist classification without having to go through another open recruitment and that process.
Can you define what you mean by experience in heavy equipment? Are we talking about parts or operating?
Operations.
So
Oh,
you're-
sorry, parts of, so larger, so it wouldn't be your standard vehicle, SUV or anything. It would be, at the Public Works Department, they have several large vehicles, tractors.
We're talking about backhoes, trackhoes, dozers.
I will be honest, I don't know what a backhoe is, but I know tractor is something a little bit more, more in the farming industry is more I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so the road construction equipment, very large equipment, so heavy trucks and other construction equipment, graders.
This experience is
trucks.
with their parts, not their
Correct.
operation.
Correct.
Okay. And the second question and last is, in that 1 year of training that you're gonna require in that, what is the determining factor at the end of that year if the training was successful? Rather than just holding a position for a year and getting it, is there any wording that says we need clarification that the training actually was effective?
So I believe that decision would ultimately come down to either the fleet's manager, Kevin Mayus, who's on here, and making that determination through the civil service process. I know that you apply, you get the position, and based off of your knowledge, in my limited experience, there have been times for if performance isn't there, they would wait until through the probationary period in order to figure out if the individual has gained a certain level of knowledge and able for them to, at the specialist level, you're considered journey level, and so you should be able to do more independence in selecting different parts.
Yeah, there where you have the knowledge of, you listen all the things that they are gonna have to have knowledge of in order to get the job. And an ability too, you have listed there, I think, effectively, the things that would be needed to do the job.
If you go to the track changes portion, page 2 of the track changes portion, which is at the back, where it says minimum qualifications.
Is that the one that we're changing?
Yeah,
That's the one that's being changed.
yeah. So you can see it in red, I think. And so what they're basically doing is, prior to this, in order to become a fleet parts specialist, and correct me if I'm misinterpreting this, the 2 years' experience was required. And then what this will do is, if you have 1 year of experience performing the duties equivalent to the level of the class of the trainee, then that substitutes for the 2 years outside in the world somewhere. That's what we're doing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's what you've already trained someone. This allows them to apply for the specialist position and substitute that for the 2 years' experience elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's good because it opens up, I think you'll have a wider group of people to hire from some large automotive parts warehouse.
Yeah, it provides an internal pathway for promotion, which is commendable, yeah. Okay, any other comments before we go to a motion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to amend the classification specialist for Fleet Parts Specialist RC 2024.
Yeah, I can second.
I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Opposed,
Aye.
say no. And the motion has passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your clarification. That helped.
You bet.
Okay, we are back to Ms. Brimmer to talk about the Retirement Systems Manager.
Yes, thank you. This is another introduction of a new classification to the county's classification plan for Retirement Services Manager. The San Joaquin County Employees Retirement Association requested the creation of a new classification that will also add a mid-management level of support to oversee the day-to-day operations of the Retirement Services Division. S.J. Sarah, Assistant Retirement Administrator, oversees 3 operating divisions: Finance, Information Technology, and Retirement Services. Information Technology and Finance each have a manager level position overseeing them, while the highest level in S.J. Sarah's most mission critical division, which is Retirement Services, is a first line supervisor. So this does create organizational challenges, such as executive management staff being pulled to assist with day-to-day operations, similar theme from what we were discussing with the deputy building official, and a manager assigned to the Retirement Services Division, which focuses on providing direct customer service, will be able to provide that immediate guidance or more immediate guidance to staff as necessary. Also, introducing the mid-manager to the division will bridge the gap and provide a more cohesive path of succession for employee progression. Right now, it's a first-line supervisor right up to the assistant director of the department, the assistant CEO, assistant retirement administrator. I believe we have.
Ms. Schick is on the line if you have any questions.
Okay,
She's-
great. I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, I have a question. There, under typical duties, number 3, remains knowledgeable of, and why can't we just put analyzes and applies laws? And as you had done in number 4. 4, yes, I think you have that right. Reviews and analyzes legislation, policies, procedures, and other administrative and regulatory requirements, determines their impact, all of that. But you can get through it with just not using that word and use analyze. And also on page 2, way down on the bottom, ability 2 on the second line there in sentence, where understand and interpret, take that out, I say, and put analyze. That would be all right. The question I have, though, is the minimum qualifications. I mean, if we took that out, would that be a problem with you?
Are you saying,
If we
would it
took
be
out what?
interpret,
The
is that what you're
interpret,
saying?
and put, and had analyze in there, and as you have it used in other places. Would that be a problem?
So to swap the word analyze for
Interpret.
interpret.
Do we have a
You could also have
representative from
explain,
the
too.
retirement?
So Johanna
managers?
Schick, the retirement administrator, is on the line on behalf of S.J. Sarah. And so if it pleases she and Secretary Goodman and the commissioners, we can make that change.
Well, let's ask how they feel about it.
So this is Johanna Schick. I'm the CEO. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Apologize. I'm actually picking somebody up at a train station, so you may hear some background noise. So with regards to interpret, I think that the discussion is similar to what you were experiencing in other situations. This person will be responsible for reading the law and determining how to apply it to individual situations. And so there is a portion of interpretation to that. I understand your point that ultimately the court is responsible for the final interpretation, but in order to apply the law, the manager has to be able to make sense of it and determine how it applies in this particular case.
Well, what would be
And
wrong?
then they would work with counsel if necessary, but they do more than just analyze it because they have to explain it to people.
Well, that's right. You can use the word explain. You can use the word, the phrase you used earlier to say they have to interpret it in order to apply. I mean, I think we all, when we're looking at laws, we can decide what we think the law means and then apply it. But you don't have to use that word, interpret, which is the legal term for the justices.
I understood, but in the day-to-day world, that is exactly what they're doing. And the other thing to consider is, I believe what I'm going to say is true. It's true for the state. I don't actually know it's true for the county, but when you're doing an interview, a hiring interview, everything, all the questions you ask have to be based on this paper, which is why it's so important. So if you don't have the word interpret here, you can't give them a project where this is during the exam, the hiring exam. You can't give them some law and say, okay, interpret this back. What does this mean? Unless it's written here. They're restricted.
You can say, explain to me what you think it means. Explain
Which is
what you think it
interpreting.
means. Well, in a sense, but when you interpret something, it's like a language. You're interpreting language. You're telling someone what the language is in their language, what it means in their language. I can understand that using their interpreted language, but a law, I think you can explain it. You can research it. You can apply it. Say what you think it means. Now, this is what I think it means, and someone says, well, I think it means that.
Okay, and so
Could I,
that's
Commissioner,
clear.
No.
Go ahead.
if I could just say, I think your analogy you've just used about interpreting a language, in that case, we're comfortable with that term. Because it's something that's very commonly used. I think in the world of public sector government, we consider it still interpretation, and we almost probably look at it as a foreign language sometimes, the way laws and codes are written. And so we do consider it interpretation. I do hear your concern of this. I think just for the ability for us to, move this study along and move forward, we can see how the other commissioner feels about it, and then we can speak to our council. I think this may be a case of a situation where we're using a term in a common lay way versus in a very specific legal term, which you clearly are very used to and familiar with. But I think we're not using the term in the same way. So I think we are using it much like a language interpretation, where we are translating, if you will. But I think it's a very common term that's used in local governments or other agencies that are using laws and codes, regulations.
Under experience, I wanted to ask, it's 6 years of increasingly responsible experience in complex defined benefit retirement programs, including at least 1 year in a supervisory capacity. It seems to me that you're asking quite a bit. I think that's probably too much experience required.
This is a high-level position. To use the phrase that I was using again, this is a division chief. I don't know what hierarchy you use. That's the hierarchy I use. This is a manager. They're going to manage supervisors, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so you can't ask someone to manage supervisors who don't have supervisory experience, if it's the supervisory part you're objecting to.
No, that's fine, the 1 year of supervisory capacity, but I think 6 years I think that you're putting yourself in a position where you're gonna rule out a lot of people that may have 5 years or 4 years and a supervisor capacity.
So, yeah, I
seems-
mean,
it
so you've
seems-
got your staff level. Do you have seniors in this group?
Yes, there are supervisors. There's a retirement.
Okay, the
supervisor.
senior is a supervisor, so you
Correct.
have the staff level people, the supervisors. You know what, I shouldn't be talking for you, Ms. Schick, I should be asking you to explain.
No, you're doing fine.
Oh, okay, so you have the staff, you have the supervisors, and then you have this new manager position, so it's three up. I'm 6 years seems fine. I wouldn't have cared if you had said 5, I wouldn't have cared if you had said 7, but they feel like that 6 is the right amount, so for me, I think we can respect that.
We work with the subject matter expert and through the job analysis process. And they can vary depending on the scope of work, the body of knowledge that needs to be had, which I think is where this one lends to the higher level of experiential, quantifying the experience. Because the body of knowledge, it's not one functional area in particular. There's a lot to be had. So another manager, for example, our deputy building official, could potentially be significantly lower number of years experience required because the scope is limited to building code, which is no small task to know. But here we have a broader thing. We also are looking at a progression of an existing. In all practicality, we're looking into progressing through an existing series that is already there. And so we're building from that series. So through previous job analyses, at lower levels in the series, it had been determined a certain number of quantifiable experience or qualitative experience was required. And so to move into this level, it builds from that which already exists which would be the next level down, which is the supervisor. I don't have that particular class spec with me. I was looking at you were looking at those. So 4 years. Yeah. Oh, Johanna.
Yeah, this is Johanna. Yeah, it's 4 years for the supervisor, which is why it's 6 years for the manager.
Okay, that answered that, for me anyway. Are you fine, Mr. Gutierrez?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, clarifications? Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the classification specification for Retirement Services Manager RM 0229.
Also motion.
Second.
Second's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
I oppose for the same reason. I want to make a statement on that.
Okay. and
With the use of the word interpret.
And
with laws.
noted, and also, I don't think any of us are taking this lightly. We all appreciate your concern, and I trust Jennifer will talk to county council, and we'll be able to move forward. Okay,
Maybe moving forward, they can mention within the interpreter, within the process, they can give the explanation.
thank you.
That may be helpful.
Okay, so now we're back to Molly. And this is the amending the class specification for laundry worker and lead laundry worker.
Is now exiting.
In January, this is for the laundry worker and lead laundry worker amendments to the class specifications. In January 2023, the General Hospital requested that Human Resource update the minimum qualifications for the laundry worker and lead laundry worker to include possession of a valid California driver's license. Upon review of the two classifications, Human Resource determined driving is an essential function of the job in order for employees to deliver and retrieve linen throughout the county. The draft class specifications for the laundry and lead laundry worker was shared with SEIU on July 25th, and the union responded with no issues. On the line with me is Hospital Chief Executive Officer Richard Castro, should you have any questions.
Okay, I'll open it to questions or comments from the commission. I was curious about the constant public contact on page 2 in the laundry worker under physical and mental requirements. I just wondered about that. That seemed, frequent, I could see, but I don't know much about laundry workers, and why do they have constant public contact?
I think I can help with addressing. So because they are transporting the linen from various areas, they may have designated areas where they potentially can come across individuals that are either getting services from, because it's not just at the hospital where they're collecting linen, it's throughout the county areas. They're being delivered to one spot. So I believe it's in there in the context of you're still representing the county. And so it's a frequent type of, frequent customer service, really oriented in that aspect.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was picturing somebody in a laundry room chatting away with the public, and
Oh, yeah, no,
was
not
clear to me.
at that level.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I think we can move forward, and I'll entertain a motion to amend the classification specifications for laundry worker RFO 201 and lead laundry worker RFO 203. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? No one's opposed. The motion has passed. Thank you, Molly. And you're going to provide for us the specifications for food service worker 1, 2, and 3, and the supervisor.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
The next presentation is for the food service worker 1, 2, and 3, as well as the food service supervisor. In January 2023, the San Joaquin General Hospital requested for Human Resources to again update the minimum qualifications for the food service worker 1, 2, and 3, and the food service supervisor to include possession of a valid driver's license. Food service worker 1, 2, 3, and food service supervisor are responsible for ensuring that food is transported and delivered to various locations throughout the county, but it has not been reflected in the minimum qualifications. The draft class specifications was presented to the SEIU on July 25th, and they responded with no issues. On the line with us is the hospital chief executive Richard Castro, as well as the food service assistant director Gerald DeVos. Should you have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
I don't.
Nor do I. In that case, I will entertain a motion to amend the classification specifications for food service worker 1, 2, and 3, and food service supervisor as provided to us.
Yeah, I can second.
A second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? No one opposed. The motion has passed. Thank you. Okay, Donna, any public comment?
We do not have any public comment and no visitors in the building, so
Okay.
we're good.
So are we now going into closed session? I was thinking we were not. Are we? No. Okay.
That was my mistake. We should have pulled that off. We didn't have council ready.
Okay, all right, so probably we'll see that in the future. And in that case, I do want to thank both of you for participating so much. It's absolutely welcome for you to provide your opinions and your questions. You're full members of the commission. And so I'm really happy that you all spoke up with your questions.
Thank you.
Good. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.